seen heaven without dying, met the devil without trying, and they both seem to want to talk to me. But I'm all out of luck now.
G'day, folks, and welcome to Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett in episode 49. And we are available on X at Cyborg Caper, on YouTube at Blue Eyed Sports, here on Facebook, Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett. If you can send an invite, drop a like, share, anything in the comment boxes, subscribe, do all that jazz, be muchly appreciated. With that, folks, I didn't do an episode for AEW Dynamite this week, and just gonna come out with it already. I am going to drop off the wrestling commentary, so I will be dropping my Thursday episodes. Unfortunately for me, I'm taking away from enjoying it myself, and I would still like to enjoy watching that, so I'm dropping that off for now, folks. I know people are probably frustrated with my NHL stuff on Tuesdays, but I'm mainly continuing with that as I'm trying to get rid of saying ums as much as possible and just delivering more clear speaking going forward. With that, folks, going to jump into the FA Cup and Premier League stuff from the previous week, and jumping into the fifth round of the FA Cup, folks. Quick recap of the replays, the round 4 replays. So Southampton coming up with a 3-0 win over Watford. They move on to the fifth. Coventry City completely outdoing Sheffield Wednesday in their replay at a 4-1 score. Same story for Leeds United as they take out Plymouth Argyle, also at a score of 4-1. With the Nottingham Forest Bristol City game, folks, this ends up going to a 1-1 draw, so it has to be decided by penalties. And in the penalties, Nottingham Forest able to knock off Bristol City 5-3. So Nottingham Forest through to the fifth. And on Wednesday, we had a game between Chelsea and Villa, and very quickly, this was a 2-0 lead for Chelsea, and Aston Villa really wasn't in this game so much, I would think. Unfortunately for them, Chelsea moves on. And folks, we get down to the fifth round. So 16 teams left, folks, and here we go. February 26th is when the round 5 will kick off, and the singular game on that day will be Coventry City against the Cinderella story Maidstone United. I believe they're in the 6th tier of English football, and they are to the round of 16. So a Cinderella story is going on, even just in the round of 16. Unfortunately, no Wrexham United this year, but Maidstone United to play Coventry on the 26th. We've got 3 games on the 27th, starting with Bournemouth and Leicester City. That should be a great game, folks. And also, folks, with the Coventry City Maidstone United game, I am going to go with Coventry City in that game. Championship side against a 6th tier English side. It's hard to put stock in Maidstone, sorry to say. Jumping over to Bournemouth and Leicester City. Definitely expect Leicester City to win this game. They have dominated the championship this season. They are probably 99% chance of perfectly coming back to winning the championship, coming back to the Premier League next season. And to be honest, if they get into those UEFA Conference League qualifiers, they will probably go deep in that tournament as well, winning the championship. With that, another game on the 27th is Blackburn Rovers facing off against Newcastle. So Blackburn kind of getting a luckier draw. Maybe they would have rather face another championship team in Leicester City or Coventry or even landed Maidstone, but they get Newcastle. And Newcastle's been super hit or miss since they've dropped out of the Champions League, and it's hard to say, but I've got to go with Newcastle in that match. New manager coming into Blackburn. We'll have to see how that plays out for them. Despite that, I'll still go with Newcastle, folks. The final game on the 27th is Luton Town and Manchester City. And, of course, going to go with the cheaters. City takes that one. Chelsea and Leeds United. So those are the first 4 games, folks. The next 4 are all on February 28th. So Chelsea and Leeds United, you have a great game there. As much as I want to put Leeds into that, I can't go with it. Chelsea has been kind of sorting themselves out, kind of, sort of, doing better than I think in the first half of the season. It feels better anyway. But Leeds could come up with an upset if you're looking for one. That could be the game to watch. But I'm still going with Chelsea myself, folks. I'm not really going with any upsets this round. The next game is Nottingham Forest drawing against Manchester United. As much as I want to like Nuno Espirito Santo and what he's doing with Nottingham Forest, they're in tough against a top 10 team. They are capable. They beat them for the first time in 29 years, and I even made that call. I made that pick when in that match week of the Premier League for them to do that. The first time since they won back-to-back Champions Leagues. But I can't put any stock in it, folks. Manchester United is probably going to take that game. Also, rumor that Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to knock down Old Trafford for a new stadium, new pitch for Manchester United. Finally, some half-decent rumors. We'll have to see if that is carried out. It would be a big deal. Old Trafford going away, the theater of dreams. That's I'm not sure how Manchester United fans feel, but could be good. Moving on to the next game, folks, and this is probably the best game of round 5 that if you're going to watch one. Folks, Wolverhampton Wanderers against Brighton and Hove Albion at 3:45 on the 28th. This is the game that I would watch, depending on what Sportsnet's showing. Wolves and Brighton, that's so hard to call. And folks, I'm going to go with Brighton. They're in the top 10. There's some great veterans in there. As much as Wolves has a lot of quality and they can score, and I love Cunha, I've got to go with Brighton there, folks. And the next game, folks, Liverpool and Southampton. Southampton, one of the undefeated, going on their own undefeated streak. They haven't lost, even though they're in the championship, they haven't lost a game in, I think it's 23 or 24 games they haven't lost. So quite the streak going for them, but running into Liverpool, it's probably going to end there, folks. So with that is the round 5 games coming up. And jumping over to the Premier League and match week 24, folks. So again, we're past halfway, season continues, and opening with a cheaters game to start off the weekend, Manchester City against Everton. And folks, that kicks off at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Not holding any stock in the Blues, folks. We're going up against a way overfunded team. Folks, look for this to be a complete blowout. And as much as I want to give us a chance, it's not going to happen. 5-1 for Manchester City. The next game's starting at 11 o'clock. Fulham at home to Bournemouth, and I keep on pulling for Bournemouth. I just kind of like the makeup of the team. They did go out and get Enes Unal on loan. I'd love to see him in the side. We'll have to see how that goes forward. I really, really like the Bournemouth team right now, and Fulham has become hit or miss, almost like Chelsea, for me anyway. But with that, going to go with a 2-1 score for Bournemouth. And also at 11, Liverpool playing Burnley. Gotta say that it's hard to think that Burnley can put up any sort of real fight against Liverpool, and I'm going to go with them 2-0. Maybe they can be well organized and defend well. Hard to say, folks. I just can't see them defending very well. It might even be worse than that. The next game at 11. Folks, this is important for the relegation battle in Luton Town versus Sheffield United. As much as Luton Town has scored 4 goals in their last 2 Premier League matches, Sheffield United is on the verge of, having absolutely no chance. And if they're going to do anything, this is exactly the game that they need to win. This one. They need to keep Luton Town in check. We're not sure how the Everton appeal is going to go. And that's still about another 5-6 days away from coming out and what that result is going to be. So Sheffield is chasing Luton Town to keep them in check, and also as a Blues fan, cheering for the Toffees, you've got to hope that Sheffield United can pull Luton Town back into reality a little bit. Despite their last 2 games scoring 4 goals, they've been able to compete well against top 10 teams in 1-goal games that they really shouldn't have been in, and it keep expecting Sheffield United to win games, and they just keep on blowing it. At one point, it's got to work for them. And maybe this is my own little bit of bias, hoping for some help for Everton. But I'm going to go with Sheffield United, folks, in a 2-1 win. Tottenham and Brighton, folks, also at 11 o'clock. This should be a barn burner. Brighton can score. Tottenham can score. Depending on Tottenham's momentum, I think they can take it. They are at home, and I've got to go with the 3-2 game. I'm expecting this to be a very good game. Brighton's been doing very well. We'll have to see how that goes. Folks, Wolverhampton and Brentford at also at 11. And despite Brentford's falling, I think they can compete with Wolverhampton in this game. Ivan Toney coming back, it's a big plus for them. But with that, Wolverhampton can also score, and I'm putting this one at a draw, folks. 2-2, I think, will be the final result in this one. And the final game on Saturday at 1:30 is Nottingham Forest at home to Newcastle. And folks, again, I keep on picking Newcastle to win stuff or do well, and like it's just super hit or miss right now. It's almost like with me and Chelsea in the beginning of the season, keep getting Newcastle wrong. But I want to go with them here too. 3-1 win is what I'm expecting, despite it being at Forest. And again, I really want to like Nuno Espirito Santo and what he's done to the Forest team. It's just unfortunate. I'm stuck on Newcastle despite their falter after dropping out of the Champions League. I've got to go with them. Sunday's games, folks. Kicking off at 10 o'clock, we've got West Ham United at home to Arsenal. And I was very quick to want to give West Ham some credit. They've been really having a hard... December was really good for West Ham. January was kind of okay. Going into February, we have questions. Are those questions still there? Can they now compete with a team like Arsenal? And I wanted to give this a draw, but it's not happening. Arsenal has a chance to keep up with the top of the league, and they have to. Especially after just beating Liverpool. They need to keep pace with them facing Burnley. And they have to go into West Ham to win this game. And folks, I'm going to call them being able to. 3-1. The next game is at 12:30, folks. We've got Aston Villa at home to Manchester United. 12:30 game. And this is probably one of the bigger games of the week. United trying to fight for Europa League spots. Villa trying to keep into a Champions League position. Trying to keep ahead of Spurs. This is a bigger game, and with that, United, if they were to win that game, they would, and somehow Spurs lost to Brighton this week, they would pull within 3 points. So this is just West Ham trying to get some sort of traction to get up to Villa and Spurs. This is a big 3 points for United. A lot of questions about Rashford's commitment to the team. Again, people calling for Ten Hag's job. I don't like both of those conversations. And Villa, with poor performance against Chelsea in the FA Cup, got to figure they can turn it around against Manchester United, and ultimately I do think they can compete with United. And I think this is just going to be a really great back and forth midfield battle somehow. I've got to think that it is. If the front three of Villa can get going, maybe that changes things. And you could say the same for United, really. But I'm going to call this a 1-1 draw, folks. I think this is going to be a very competitive game. It's going to be very back and forth, and it might actually be be closer on possession. United has struggled with possession of late, but Villa has fallen off the kind of steady on Unai Emery, what I called for earlier in the year. Yeah, I'm sticking with that, folks. A 1-1 draw for Villa and United. And there's one Monday game, folks, on at 4 o'clock. Crystal Palace at home to Chelsea. And again, Roy Hodgson's job and calls for him to retire continue to circle. Graham Potter, again, was seen at the club. Not sure if he's being considered for the job. Ultimately, I think he would be the best person for the job that's available around England. Chelsea, coming off a good win against Villa, going to face a bottom team like Crystal Palace. And again, if they lose this game to Chelsea, is Roy Hodgson's job in any more question, is where I'm at. Yeah. So, folks, quick look at the bottom of the table. Sheffield United with their 10 points. They are 3 points back of Burnley. Everton's penalized 19 points, have them in 18th right now, a point behind Luton Town. Again, it's a tall ask for Sheffield United. If they're going to get back into this relegation fight, they have to win on this weekend. And with that, just ahead of Luton Town at 21 points, Forest, Brentford 22 points, and Crystal Palace almost a little bit safe at a 4-point gap back to Luton Town, and they're above the line right now, so Crystal Palace kind of looks okay. I'm thinking they will lose on the weekend. We'll have to see how results go elsewhere to see if they do fall any more places, but Crystal Palace, Brentford, Nottingham Forest, they've kind of fallen in to Luton Town and Everton. Depending on how Everton's appeal goes, that can change things just there. Jumping up to the UEFA spots, folks, and that battle. The final spot and the Conference League spot, 7th place, held by West Ham United right now. They've dropped off out of the Europa League spots. They have 36 points. They are a point ahead of Brighton. So Brighton on the heel of European football still. Newcastle is not out of it at 3 points behind them. So can Newcastle keep pace with West Ham? And with that, can Wolves pull themselves into that final UEFA spot fight in 10th? They're 4 points back of that. Chelsea being 5 points back, this might be starting to be a taller ask for Chelsea to do. With that, West Ham is 2 points behind Manchester United after United's win last week. And again, United facing Villa this week, trying to pull themselves into Spurs and Villa for that final Champions League place and keep themselves in the Europa League fight. I think that's got to be a minimum for United at this point. If they fall to the Conference League, I think that would be a lot of upset United fans. With that, they are 6 points back. So again, it's a big 3 points against Villa this weekend, folks. Spurs against Brighton this week. They could pull into the Champions League places depending on how results go. They could be 2 points away from City and Arsenal. Again, City and Arsenal having probably an easier path this weekend. Arsenal facing West Ham, a little bit tougher than City facing Everton. Again, Everton would have to do a lot to pull out even a point. And it's a tall ask, folks. With that, Arsenal and Manchester City, 2 points behind Liverpool. Arsenal trying to keep pace. They've been able to, and a lot of people are just writing off Arsenal for the winning the Premier League. Liverpool losing Jurgen Klopp. You figure this would be more of a shot to them, but it hasn't been. Seems like the quality of the team is very much still there. So, folks, that's been a little preview of Round 5 for the FA Cup. Also looking at the match week 24 of the Premier League. And, folks, if you're listening to my picks, it's probably better to pick something else or pick the other. My picks thus far for the last 5 or 6 weeks now, I'm 25 and 37 going into this week. I've only been doing it for a few weeks, so take my picks with a grain of salt, at least for now. I've only had 2 positive weeks, so take it as you will. With that, again, dropping off the wrestling stuff on Thursdays. That will be dropped off. I'm not doing it anymore, as I would like to keep my interest in wrestling. And again, I am keeping on with the NHL for right now. Big win for the Bruins last night over the Canucks, and what is going on with their power play? I mean, the Canucks, like, shorthanded goals, what's happening? Yeah, with that, folks, this has been Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett. We're available on X at Cyborg Caper, on on YouTube at Blue Eyed Sports, here on Facebook, Blue Eyed Sports with Allan Noblett. If you could send an invite, drop a like, drop a share, drop a comment, any questions, whatever, hit the subscribe, do what you got to do, be muchly appreciated, and we'll see you on Monday. I'm actually going to leave the timing open now for instead of 11 o'clock. I've been trying to keep with that time, but that's also the same time slot as First Take on TSN, so trying to compete with that is probably dumb. With that, also the last game of the Premier League week is on Monday at 4 o'clock, so it'll probably be a 6:30 start for Monday's episode. With that, folks, see you next time.